Hello everyone. So you probably heard me before talking about this, but I do think it's really, really important, particularly the state of the country at the moment, that local authorities, local councils in different areas have more power than they used to have more power than they do nowadays, pretty much. In 2001, the Local Authority Act was passed, which pretty much gives the government in Dublin a free pass to do whatever the fuck they want. Excuse my language, but it's quite literally the truth. We see now with the immigration problem, people being bussed in the middle of the night, local authorities are powerless to do anything. Local councils are powerless, because pretty much a councillor's job nowadays, you pretty much have no power. Like, you have literally no power to do anything. You have collective power. The whole councils, take for example, have collective power to make decisions. But as an individual, you have no power. That's a TD or a senator has the power. So what I'm trying to say is local authorities have literally no power nowadays compared to what they used to. And I do think it's important for local authorities to have more power than the government, because the government in Dublin pretty much, they can't say no to them. If the government say jump, they can't tell them, no, we won't jump for you. And obviously the government of Dublin has become very, very anti-Irish and pretty much despises this country, to be totally honest. Their actions have shown time and time again they absolutely hate the country, seems to be. For whatever reason, whatever agenda they're after, but that seems to be the attitude that they're showing to the Irish people and to councillors, etc., etc. But not even that too. Just take for example what they just... now bear with me for that. I'll try and explain the best I can. But pretty much, the Department of Health, different departments in Dublin, they'll have their headquarters in Dublin, etc., etc. And everything is basically doesn't work on them, and everything just overspends, etc., etc. So take for example in Cavan, we have a huge problem with mental health services, the Department of Mental Health, Mary Butler's department. And pretty much we're talking to the wall, because nothing has changed in the last 6 years, unfortunately. But what I'm trying to say is local councils should have pretty much the power to govern, take for example, mental health services in Cavan, instead of the government has the power to govern the mental health services in Cavan. Like the central government of Dublin, the people who are sitting up there in Dublin, Mary Butler, there's never... I haven't got a clue. I don't think she ever would turn up in Cavan, because she knows the answer she's going to get. She's not going to get a nice welcome. Let's put it that way. And so she shouldn't get a nice welcome. She should be shouted down from everybody. And everybody will shout her down if she ever comes. Because it's heinous stuff that's going on at the moment towards mental health in Cavan. Nothing's ever been done. And Mary Butler sits in Dublin on a big salary. Doesn't give a shit. Along with the people in the Department of Mental Health, they seem to be all soulless people, to be totally honest. They don't seem to have a soul and have any kind of heart, because nothing has changed. And I hate to say it, but it's the truth, because nothing has changed. It'd be different if something changed. Nothing has changed. We see what's so sad, take example. I could write the book on it, unfortunately. But anyway, what I'm trying to say is, if say for example Cavan, County Council, had the authority over the mental health services here, they could govern it more effectively than people sitting in Dublin don't have a fucking clue what they're doing on big salaries. They couldn't care less. But at least if you employed, my opinion is, if you employed local people, say for example in Cavan County Council, to run the Department of Health, take for example the Department of Health and the Department of Mental Health in Cavan, it would be a lot better than having one central authority in Dublin telling the whole country what to do. So basically it'd be at a local level, and I think that's the best way to govern, because we see now at the moment it would be the best way. You see in the United States and stuff like that, the Department of Education's been disbanded, the Central Department of Education, and been given back to the states, so the states will govern the education system. And it should be the same in Cavan too, and across the country, that the county councils decide what the state, what the county, in other words, loans, etc., etc. There's no central Department of Education, if that makes any sense. It's up to the local councils to do. So pretty much what I'm trying to say, we should decentralise, because the government in Dublin is rogue. It's a rogue government, and the councils should have more power to govern over their own county, instead of the government telling us what to do. What I'm trying to say is the government have too much power to do what they want in different parts of the country, and they shouldn't have the power. Like as I say, we should be like the United States in terms of state governments and stuff like that, have more power, more autonomy to do things like in Germany, in Australia, other countries. But in Ireland, it's just pretty much the government can run through legislation, unconstitutional, whatever they want. They can do whatever they want, because the councillors can't object, they can't raise up a ruckus. There's nothing really they can be done. That's what I'm trying to say. And the government done this, I say they done this on purpose. In 2001, they limited the power of the councils. Years ago, the councils and the county councils used to have more power to govern over the county. But no, they don't nowadays. It's the central government in Dublin that has the power. And it shouldn't be the case. Obviously, there should be central government in Dublin, but there should be huge decentralisation, because the government is far too big in Dublin. What I'm trying to say, it should be brought down to the countryside a lot. What I'm trying to say is, as I say, the Department of Health have local offices in different parts, like under the local authorities in different areas. It would be the best thing, I think, because decentralisation would be the best policy to go. Because having a big bloated government in Dublin is not doing anybody any good. And it's causing more money and it's causing more harm. And I think it'd be more cheap in the long run too if we did it that way. Too, I think it would work a lot more better because if you'd be able to micromanage it a bit better too than having just one big office in Dublin that governs over the place. Obviously, Dáil Éireann, I'm not suggesting that we abolish Dáil Éireann or Shannon Éireann, but they should have limited, like in terms of limited, but obviously legislation stuff. But again, if it's unconstitutional, the councils could argue about it and stuff like that back to the government, because pretty much they can't say no to the government. They're just following orders. That's all they have to do now. They can't say no, which shouldn't be the case. Again, if something's unconstitutional, the council should be able to say no. The county council should be able to say no. But unfortunately, they can't nowadays. And the same with the chief executives. They're employed by the government. It's not the people of Cavan that elects their chief executive to the council, or the people of Monaghan who elects their chief executive. It's the government. It's the Department of Local Government. They appoint the person to it. So they pretty much they're not answerable to the people of Cavan. They're answerable to the Department of Local Government, the Minister of Local Government, and the Taoiseach, of course, too. But they're not answerable to the people. That shouldn't be the case. They should be answerable to the people. And again, they should be appointed by the people first of all too. But again, the whole system is rotten, and it's all rotten for a reason, because they wanted it to be like this. They designed it to be like this. The people didn't have enough power. The power of the people was taken away. In the 1937 Constitution, the people, the Irish people, had more power to govern over their own country. As rightly so. It's our country. It's our country that we fought very hard for the last 800 years. We should have the power to decide what happens in our communities, etc., etc., in our country, instead of just the government make the decisions and to hell with the people, pretty much. And that seems to be the narrative of the government at the moment. But yeah, that's what I take. So that's what we should do, in my opinion. It never will happen, unfortunately. But if I ever become a council, that's something I'm going to shout about very strongly. Because we do need a lot more autonomy. Now, I'm not saying council, the counties become independent, what independence from Holland, etc., succession, or whatever you would call it. I'm not suggesting that now, not yet. We should probably soon have to go to that one, but I think that will work, like decentralisation a good bit from Dublin. Let me know what you think. I know it might sound ludicrous, but it seems to be the way it's going, to be totally honest, because the government of Dublin don't care. And we have to get away from that, I suppose. Let's put it that way. Thank you.